Hey, fellow drone enthusiasts, and of course, a shout out to the Drone Seekers group. Marcus Crawford here, otherwise known as Idaho Sledhead, on my YouTube channel. Hey, today the Hubsan people released a firmware upgrade for the Hubsan Zino. Okay, I just got back from a park not far from my house and did a little test flight with the Zino to check out the new firmware. And the firmware is supposed to increase hovering stability and optimize wind resistance. It's wintertime here in Idaho, and while we had some sunshine today, we had a little snow last night, and it's cold. But also, there was a pretty good wind blowing. I'm going to guess gusts maybe up to 10 miles an hour, but you know, there was a constant wind. So I had my little this little tripod here that's for an action camera, and this is a pretty flimsy little thing, but it telescopes out, and it works pretty good on a light little action camera, and it kept blowing over as I was trying to record. But a couple of things happened with the Zino. Stability-wise, just hovering, gosh, it was all over the place, and I hope I have some good video of that. It was, and I don't know if that was the wind or just the Zino itself. I suspect the wind had something to do with it. But additionally, I did a couple of automated flight modes. I did the panorama one where I just took it up in the air and did a 270-degree pan, is what they call a panorama. And that looked like it worked out pretty good. But then I brought it back down and I tried circle mode, have it do an orbit around the transmitter. And it got to a point in that orbit that it could not fight the wind, and it wouldn't make it around. Now, you know, it was probably up, I don't know, 20 or 30 meters, not that high, but it would not. It got to the point that it just stopped. It was fighting the wind and couldn't continue to make progress. So anyway, so I just hit return to home, and it came home. And I know I don't have that on video because I ran out of battery in my little action camera, but it landed pretty darn close to its home point, which I was glad about that. But I'm going to say that it does show some of the limitations of this particular drone. You know, they can do whatever they want with the firmware, etc. It's not going to be able to do the things that you would expect out of a higher priced drone. So the point that I want to make is that if you buy this Zino and you are expecting it to be something like a Mavic Pro or a Mavic, much less a Mavic 2, or even a Mavic Air, it just isn't that. It's just not in that league, nor should it be, because it's not nearly the cost of those. If you have to compare it to a DJI product, you know, I would say maybe you could compare it to the Spark. But even that's kind of apples and oranges because, you know, the Spark's just got a 2-axis gimbal, etc. But although I would argue that the video quality on the Spark is remarkably good for 1080p. And so don't buy this and have an expectation that you're going to have that kind of drone. But it is a really, really excellent product in my opinion. I think Hubsan just hit it out of the park with this thing because it has a lot of the capabilities that more expensive products have, and it's just a great way to start the hobby and learn. It's got some sophisticated features on it and so forth. So buy it with that in mind, and understand that, you know, you're not going to fly it 5 miles out like you are a Mavic, and it's not going to be able to, you know, you're not going to be able to put it up in gale force winds and have it be perfectly stable, etc. And you know, it's not going to have all the camera features that you're used to in more expensive DJI drone. And anyway, just buy it and enjoy it. So that's about it. I'll throw up the video that I took today with the drone, and you can take a look at it for yourself. Okay, we got I've got the new firmware uploaded into the Zino, and we got a pretty good wind. In fact, it just blew my tripod over. So it's just a little tripod on an action camera, so no big deal. But anyway, let's see if we can get this thing up in the air. One of the things that they said that the upgrade to the flight control did was help it maintain stability in the wind. So I'd say right now is a pretty good opportunity to try it out. So let's give it a shot. It's asking for a compass calibration. So bind to the aircraft GPS, good GPS accuracy. So I'm going to go into the controller here. Well, there's enough wind that it keeps blowing over my tripod. So it is telling me that I got the new flight control version. And it is struggling a little bit in the wind here. We got a pretty good wind going. Strong enough wind that it's trying to blow over the tripod here. So I pitched it forward, but as you can see, it's getting blown around quite a bit. It's in GPS hold. And I don't know, I'm kind of trying to estimate what the winds are here. You know, it's probably gusting up to 10 miles an hour or so. So, you know, I can tell you I've flown my Mavic in much stronger winds than this. Okay, let's point the gimbal back up and we'll get some height here. So hopefully the camera is getting the drone here. It's blowing around quite a bit in this wind. So my hands are completely off the controls now, and you can see it kind of moving around there a little bit. And whenever a gust of wind comes up, yeah, you can see it blows it around a little bit. But you know, honestly, for what it is, like I said, I'm not touching the controls, so that movement that you're seeing is just the drone itself. Okay, I threw this little bit in here just so you can see some video quality and kind of see how the drone flies. And you can see that flag there. There's a little how much wind there is blowing. The other thing about this particular drone is I still have control issues with it. I'm not sure if that's me, but I struggle to do the fine controls with this drone. I kind of wonder if other people have those same kind of issues. I'd love to hear about it in the comments. So at this point in the flight, I took it up to get a little altitude to try out some of the automated flight modes. Again, today I tried the panorama mode, which is really just a kind of panning around, which actually works for me with my struggles to do it smoothly. So this is found in the Creative Flight Modes section of the menu. They call it Panorama, but again, for me, it's just a pan shot, and it does it nice and smooth, which is better than I can do manually with this drone. So I can tell you this is something that I will probably use from time to time. Pretty decent video quality here too. I kind of like it. I put the drone into orbit mode here, and just to see how it would handle it with the wind. And as you'll see, it does pretty good here at first. When it gets about halfway around the orbit, it struggles just a little bit. I'm not sure if it's because it's in a power mode that it's just trying to do the orbit, that it cannot power through the wind. You can see at this point it's starting to lose the center. And oh, I should say, by the way, I had the controller set as the center of the orbit. And you can see right now, you can tell it's kind of wobbling around, and the wind is pushing it around a little bit, and it just can't, it just doesn't seem to be able to cope with it. And you know, I don't think the winds were that much. It was maybe 10-mile-an-hour winds. I'm sure if I was free flying, I probably could have overcome it, but as it was in that orbit mode, it just didn't work very well. And then I got down to about 30% battery, and I finally ended up just hitting return to home and landing it. I figured there was no point in pushing it anymore, and we kind of showed how it's handling the wind. And obviously that's what the update was supposed to be for, and it didn't, at least in this case, it didn't seem to help it much. But it did stick a pretty good landing here. You'll see as it comes down, it's a little bit off, and it adjusts itself at the very end, and it landed almost pretty darn close to the exact spot that it took off. Again, this is Marcus Crawford, or as I'm known on my YouTube channel, Idaho Sledhead, out. Thank you very much for watching, and if you like this kind of content, consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks again.